Is you or someone you know suffering from a health issue? Today I'm going to talk about health, mental health, as well as spirituality, as I truly believe they're all interconnected. Now, picture this: 60% of Americans, that's 133 million people, are wrestling with something like heart disease or diabetes. That's draining $4.1 trillion a year, according to the CDC's latest count. As well as with heart problems and diabetes, society now is also getting too overweight, where in 2025, 42% of us are still obese, which is the same in 2020, while diabetes is also creeping up. What is keeping us stuck? Well, what I truly believe is that we're not concentrating on physical fitness, exercise, good air quality, drinking good filtered water, removing the plastics from our homes, and also we are just consistently consuming these toxic chemicals that are filled inside of our food that we eat here in America. Now, because of the pandemic, there's long lasting COVID things that are going on where it's costing us $50 billion a year that are still battling this COVID stuff. Whether you believe COVID was a conspiracy or it was real, whatever you may believe, humans on Earth are still being affected by this. One of the things that they're being affected by is the distrust in governments and in medical science, to where 20% of us last year actually skipped the flu shot altogether. And they think that it's because of the fact of the COVID vaccine is why people are so much more weary about taking vaccines. Did you get the vaccine? I did not get the vaccine. I'm not going to get the vaccine. I don't believe in vaccines because I truly believe that our bodies are strong enough and built enough to take care and battle and win any type of disease or sickness that we could have. And if there isn't something our body can do it on our own, Mother Earth gives us something that we can take or use to heal anything that you have wrong with your body. You just have to learn it. You just have to do the research. Now, cancer has actually dropped a little bit. The FDA greenlit 5 new therapies in 2024, slashing lung cancer deaths by 10% since 2020. Now, is that because we stopped smoking cigarettes and everybody kind of transitioned over to vapes? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'd really like to hear what you guys have to say. Now, as well as something that has actually helped humans a lot is these wearable devices. Whether you want to believe it or not, they do have some benefit. 35% of adults inside of America are using something similar to like a Fitbit or like an Apple Watch that tracks your heartbeat and your sleep, because your heartbeat and sleep are very important to your health. Do you not agree? Sleep is way more important than people even want to think about. You actually really need good, deep sleep for many hours to heal your body, rejuvenate your mental health, do all of the things that the good sleep does. You know what I'm saying? And I think that something that people really need to think about and come to the realization is that we're in a toxic society. All of our environment is just so toxic. The air's toxic, the water's toxic, all the food that we're provided is toxic. Everything is toxic. And until you realize that, you might just struggle with health issues your entire life. When you become aware that you need to be more self-diligent in making sure that the air you breathe has good quality, the water you drink is good quality, the food you eat is good quality, you're going to struggle. Filtering your water is one of the first things that you should be doing. You should check with your city and your state and find out what the fluoride levels for the water in your city are. Regardless, I think you should get a water filter that alkalines the water, because we are electric beings. We are beings of water and electricity. So it would make sense that we would need to drink water that is electrolyzed, right? It has electrolytes in it. It's alkaline water. And then there's a whole other topic. Drop in the comments if you want me to make a whole video about this, but plastic is everywhere and it's killing us. It's literally turning us into plastic. The average adult human in America consumes a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. Our food is covered in plastic. It's served in plastic. It's heated up in plastic. We eat it on plastic plates. We use plastic cups to drink out of. We drink out of plastic water bottles. There's plastic in our bed sheets. There's plastic in our clothes. There's plastic everywhere. And the thing about plastic is it doesn't go away. It just breaks down smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller into microplastics and then into nanoplastics. And we're just surrounded by plastic. There's absolutely nothing you can do to remove the plastic from your body that you have inside of you now. The only thing that you can do moving forward is be aware of plastic and make sure that you try your best to avoid plastic at all costs. One of the biggest things about plastic that not a lot of people want to consider or think about or even have knowledge of, that is something that is so prominent in society that nobody is going to even really believe me before I say this, but it's the cups from gas stations and the paper cups that you get anywhere that has some sort of plastic coating to keep the cup from disintegrating because of the liquid. That could be a cup from the local coffee shop. That could be a cup from 7-Eleven. Any plastic paper cups, really any paper cups at all, has like this plastic film inside. That stuff leaches into your drink, especially when the liquid is hot. Especially when the liquid is hot. One thing you can stop doing right now is stop heating your food in a microwave with plastic stuff. The second you take that plastic container to heat up your lunch at work and you put it into the microwave, it is excreting billions and billions of microplastic that your food is absorbing. Then you are eating. Your body doesn't know how to break it down, and then the plastic's just in your body forever. In autopsies, they've actually found plastic in every single piece and organ of the human body. There's this thing, I can't remember what the exact word is called, but when babies are born, one of the first things they do is poop. They have found plastic in that poop. They have found plastic in placentas. They have found plastic in babies. So the baby doesn't even have a chance because of the mother's choices, that they're already born with these plastics inside of their body. And we can't break them down. Something else we can't break down are forever chemicals. You know, that non-stick Teflon stuff that we put on your pan to make it so it's more convenient for your lazy ass to clean? Yeah, they specifically targeted and started attacking convenience to make it so that you could put this chemical on your pan and then it never goes away. You heat it up, put food on it, the food leaches the chemical into the food, and then you probably used a plastic spatula with this pan that's hundreds of degrees hot. Touch the plastic spatula to the pan to flip over your hamburger. The second you do that, you're also putting microplastics into your hamburger when you use a plastic spatula to touch the hot pan. We're getting bombarded with toxins from everywhere. What do people not get? People need to start doing more research. There's toxic chemicals in our food. The American diet has 10,000 chemicals inside of it. All of the other countries across the planet have 400. What is that other 9,600 chemicals that we are consuming on a day-to-day basis? Oh, that's probably why autism is on a rise. In 1980, 1 in 10,000 kids had autism. Today, it's 1 in 32. Really just let that sink in. It's 1 in 32. That's a lot of people being affected by this disease, that I really think that just long-term exposure to these chemicals in our food and the toxins in our environment have just changed the way we are created and the way that our body naturally heals itself. There's never been a time in history where there's plastic everywhere. There's never been a time in history where the air quality on the planet is just so bad for us. You could just see the smog in the air. How do you think the whole entire planet is feeling off of that stuff? Now, I don't necessarily believe in global warming, like the way that the controversial topic is talked about, where we need to do all of these things to affect it or change it or prevent it. That's not happening. Many times throughout all of history, there have been many, many different ice ages that the whole entire planet froze and then warm up and then froze and then warm up and then froze and then warm up and then froze. We've only been around to and keep record of our history for such a small blimp of how long Earth has been here. We have no idea, and we're just assuming that all of a sudden that we are building things and these machines are putting emissions into the earth, into the atmosphere, and that's what's causing global warming. That might be the case, but it's not as dramatic as you might think, because there's nothing we can do to stop it. There was an ice age that wiped out half of the living creatures on the planet, and there was nothing they could have done to stop it. It just happens. Our earth is just something that happens like that. But what we can do is worry about ourselves, worry about the toxins in our environment, worry about the things we're putting in our body. Make sure we're reading every single label. Every label. And if you read the label and the ingredients, the first few ingredients are the things that are filled, the food is filled with the most. So like if you go and buy dog food, for example, I buy dog food because I have 2 dogs. Oh, I love my dogs. But when we go there and we look at the food and look at the back of the bag and look at the ingredients, if it's not the meat product that dog food is predominantly supposed to be, whether that's beef or chicken or whatever, if it literally doesn't say beef or chicken, I'm not buying it. That is the first ingredient is what the food has the most of, and so on and so on. So as the ingredients go down and go down, the food is filled with less of that ingredient. And then there's a whole bunch of ingredients that we can't pronounce that got numbers inside of it. Some of them sound like acidic chemicals and things that you probably wouldn't want to be around or even touch or inhale or anything, but we're consuming it in our food. Like, what is going on? Why as a society are we allowing this to happen? Why is it that we are still contributing to these companies? My assumption is that the global elites have made it so hard to survive and everything's so expensive. It just seems like it's just perfectly articulated like that to where all the most poisonous foods are the cheapest. Why do you think ramen noodles are 25 cents? Because it's poison. You should stop drinking diabetes water. Yeah, you know. Mountain Dew, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. It's like literally filled with high fructose corn syrup. Now I'm going to drop a little bit of knowledge to let you know how integrated the elites, pharmaceutical companies are entrenched into the food industry. In the early 1970s, 1980s, the Surgeon General declared that cigarettes were no longer healthy for the human. Beforehand, you could smoke anywhere. They didn't talk how negatively they affected your health or that there was any type of cancer concerns. It was just everybody smoked. Everybody smoked everywhere. And then what happened is the Surgeon General decided that they were bad for you, which is true. And when that happened, do you know what those companies did that produced the cigarettes? R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris? During that period of time, it was like the largest business-to-business transaction in history. But the biggest cigarette companies in the world then bought the biggest food manufacturing companies in the world. Weird. Why would they do that? Because the following next steps that they chose kind of will let you know what their intentions were. The next steps is they took their scientists from the tobacco industry, brought them over to those food companies, and then started doing research on addiction specialties when it came to food and how to make the food addictive. One of the things they did is they invented high fructose corn syrup. Here's a little bit of knowledge I'm going to drop on you. Fructose is the sugar substance that's in fruit. What they did is they started researching on how to make food addictive. And if they're going to make food addictive, they got to figure out what our bodies do when we ingest certain nutritions, minerals, chemicals, etc. We know what happens when you consume caffeine. Kind of gets you hyped up and sometimes makes you got to poop. We know what happens when you consume alcohol. We know what happens when you consume this, that, and the other. So what they did is they started studying bears in hibernation, because bears, during the time when they're preparing to hibernate, they consume a lot of food, like tons and tons of food. How are they able to do that? Well, they watched these bears very meticulously, and they noticed after they had woken up, they consumed fruit for a lot of time. They would eat fruit, and then they would go eat meat, just tons and tons and tons and tons of meat. But all the time, it started with fruit. And then they found out something. They found out that fructose tricks your brain to think that you're not satiated, like you're not full. So these scientists created this super potent fructose called high fructose corn syrup, which tricks your brain into not thinking you're full, so you keep consuming. And then they put high fructose corn syrup in everything. There's high fructose corn syrup in your bread. It's in your ketchup. It's in chips. It's in everything. Have you ever noticed, like, you could go up late night, you got the munchies, you go ahead and grab 2 soda pops, you grab a bag of chips, some ice cream, you got a little bit of candy up in there, you're eating donuts. And it seems as if you could just smash all of that food in one sitting. But then on the offhand, you then go to a steak restaurant. You order a big ass steak with its sides, the salad or like some bread or like potatoes or whatever. And after you've done eating the steak, you feel more full than you've ever been in your entire life. Why is that? Because the chemicals in the meat did what they were supposed to do and told your stomach in time to tell your brain that you're full. But when you ate all that junk food, it didn't do that. It's the high fructose corn syrup inside of it that's tricking your brain to not thinking you're full. That's why you can eat a whole entire family-sized bag of chips, 2 sodas, 7 donuts, etc., etc., etc. And then we wonder why we're sick. And then our physical health. Guess what happens when we let go of our physical health? Yeah, you guessed it. Our mental health starts to tank. Now think about this. 31% of us, that's 80 million adults, have anxiety in 2025. That's 19% increase from 2019. What has got us so anxious? Drop in the comments what you think. Now, also something that's affecting mental health, that's kind of some crazy stats, is that 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 8 boys hit major depression by 2024. In 2024, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 5 boys have depression. Notice I didn't say man and woman. I said girl and boy. Now we're talking about kids. How crazy is that statistic? They're just raised in a society that doesn't care that they're sad, when it's directly the parent's responsibility to figure out why the kid is sad. Now people are going to say, oh, sometimes people's brain chemicals and the way that they're made just makes it so they're more receptive to sadness. Bullshit. The one thing that's not being taught at all to any of the kids on planet Earth is emotional regulation. We need to, in schools, I agree with what's going on with the revision of the Department of Education, because there's a lot of things that kids aren't taught that are so important to life. Like how to regulate your emotions, deep breathing, intentional breathing, meditation and yoga to allow your mind, body, and spirit to connect with one and become one. Nutrition is not talked about. They don't teach kids how to budget money. They don't teach them what a credit score is. They have no idea that they're going to take this student loan to go to school and kind of in a way get conned into it, and then find out later as an adult that you took a student loan and that loan actually never disappears. Even if you die, it gets passed on to your kids. There's lots of things that kids aren't taught. And then at 18-year-old, they're just thrown out into the world and say, figure it out, bud. What about other societies in planet Earth that are very different than America? In America, it's like, okay, you're 18. The parents are just counting down when you turn 18 so you can get the fuck out. Whereas in other cultures, the families create businesses together. They share expenses together and pool all of their money together so that all of them live more comfortably. Brothers create businesses together. The parents aren't so concerned about the kid leaving at 18 as long as he's making the right choices and going in the path he's supposed to go. Now, when it comes to mental health, last year, 50,000 people didn't make it, meaning they chose to end life. That's up 3%, with guys 25 to 44 years old were hit the hardest. What is it about the society nowadays that is making more people decide that they don't want to be here? There are countries around the world that have assisted unalivings, like where you go and they help you accomplish that goal. That's really dark, because life is beautiful. Life is really what you make it, and your perception on reality, it affects everything. We can see how, like, for example, last night, Trump addressed Congress and they were talking about this kid who had brain cancer and all he wanted to do was be a police officer. And so the city he lived in, they made him an officer. And last night on live television, Trump made him a secret service agent. Everyone in the room that it was Republican was clapping for this young boy. Not one Democrat stood up to clap. How is their perception so muddied and so delusional that they can't be happy for an 8-year-old boy who had brain cancer that said he had like 6 months to live and he's been alive for 6 years? And Trump, awarded him with something great. And those people couldn't even be happy for him. Because in society, they're trying to do whatever they can to divide us. They don't want us to feel like we have people that support us. They want us to feel like the world is against us. Sure, the governments and the elites are against us. That's a fact. But there's more of us than there's more of them. We need to start making real changes in our lives because everyone else will follow suit. It's important to make sure that we are taking care of our physical health, our mental health, and our spiritual health. I haven't even gotten to spiritual health yet. The last thing I want to say about mental health is that opioid deaths hit 82,000 in 2024, up 5% with fentanyl leading the charge. It's now just like common knowledge and common conversation within like almost everybody in America is affected by addiction. Almost everybody in America knows someone that was close to them that overdosed. And those people who are struggling with addiction, it's so hard to just want to help them, but you can't really help them. That's the sad truth about addiction, is that your physical health and your mental health probably play a key role in whether you are addicted or not addicted and how well you're able to come out of said addiction. But nothing is going to work for that person unless they want to change. So you got to kind of find this, middle ground where you're supportive and encouraging, but you don't enable and you don't provide for their addiction, no matter what. And no one is going to change or fix the things that need to be changed or fixed without them wanting to do it. I'm happy that the Trump administration has cut down illegal immigration at the border to an all-time low, which then means that the drugs being smuggled into our country are significantly being taken care of. We're under attack. Can you not see it? Our health is under attack. Our mental health is under attack. Societies as a whole are being under attack by the drugs that are being brought into our country, because those drugs aren't the same drugs that they were 20 years ago when people were just using drugs. No, people are dying. People are fucking dying. Lots and lots and lots and lots. I know for a fact you've heard about San Francisco, how it used to be one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world, and now it just looks like the zombie apocalypse. Now we can segue straight into spirituality, because I wouldn't be here able to overcome my addiction to meth and heroin and intravenous drug use as my most recent kratom addiction. I wouldn't have been able to do all of that if I wasn't spiritually connected to divine source, the creator. You could call him Jesus, you could call him God, you could call him Allah, you could say Buddha, Odin, whatever it is. There's no wrong way to spirituality. Every single person perceives reality different, and everyone is going to resonate and vibrate with certain things and that are different from everybody else. So whatever it is you believe, majority of those spiritual beliefs are good for you. The idea that prayer and manifestation are different has been dumbed down by society, that the idea that when you pray, you're supposed to go and just ask this all-powerful being for things. That's not the case. You're supposed to talk about how grateful you are for what you have. And why is that so important? Why is it so important to remain grateful? Because if you have genuine gratitude for your life, the things going on in your life, your spouse, was it your kids, your friends, your job, your financial means, your home, whatever it is, the more grateful you can be, the more you're in the vibrational frequency of abundance, because you are happy and content with the present moment and what you have now. If you're always so worried about what you don't have, or always chasing this one thing, you're never going to have it, because you are putting out into the universe the energy of lack, of not having it, wanting something that you can't have right now, and you're going to forever chase it. As soon as you establish this gratitude and abundance mindset, your entire world will change. And the only way to do that is to connect spiritually with the divine as well as with yourself, because I truly believe those are one and the same. We are created in God's image, so we are gods. We have been brainwashed into thinking that the power we seek, the higher being we seek, is something outside of us, when that's not the case. It is us. That's why you got to do yoga and exercise and eat good and talk to yourself and encourage yourself and meditate and just become the best version of you. And that's what this video was about, is to encourage you just to become the best you can be. And with that, peace out.